So today I watched a film that I had been hoping would open in Atlanta before the end of the year, but it didn't. So it opened a few weeks ago, and I finally got my butt down there to see it. And this is Mike Mills's 20th Century Women. Now, I am a really, really big fan of Beginners. It's one of my all-time favorite films. I've watched it countless times. I think it's a perfect film. I saw Thumbsucker when it was relatively new, and I remember being confused and not sure if I liked it. So I feel like I need to revisit because maybe I'd like it now more, or maybe I wouldn't like it still. I'm not sure because I didn't not like it, but I didn't love it. So then when Beginners was so great, I was like, wow, I actually love this. Whereas I remember feeling like I don't know how to feel about your first film. So this brings us to 20th Century Women, where I'm back to I don't know how I feel about this film. Because there's aspects of it that are great. I think the performances are all fantastic. I think Billy Crudup is great. He's like on a good kick right now. I want him to be in everything. Um, and Annette Bening is great. Greta Gerwig is great. That actually might be my favorite Gerwig performance. And Elle Fanning continues to be one of my favorite actresses. And she's only 17. I'm really surprised. Like, I hope that I get to watch her act for another, 70 years. Except that I don't know if I'll live for 70 years, but she definitely will. So I'll just keep watching her act because she's great. And the kid, played by Lucas Jade Zuman, is also quite good. But I guess my main problem is the film is sort of autobiographical, and the mother's sort of based on his mother, and Greta Gerwig's character's quasi based on his sister, and Elle Fanning's character is based on a friend of his. So the kid is sort of based on Mike Mills, but I didn't feel like we got to really know the kid at all. So we get a lot about all the other characters. We get background flashes, and it does a lot similar to Beginners with the flashing of stock photography and stock video to sort of build in the characters of everyone except the kid. And I guess the point was it was supposed to be the focus on the women, but I kept wanting to know more about the kid, since the kid is like everyone, the whole thing is how all these women are sort of affecting raising this kid, and yet we don't really know the kid. So that sort of he felt like the least developed thing, and that irritated me a little bit. I also like one of the things I really loved about Beginners was it felt like a very good cross-section of the diversity of Los Angeles. And I guess because we've now moved to Santa Barbara and it's less diverse there, I don't know, there's not a lot of diversity in this film, and that includes both race and sexuality. And even in the like sort of feminist punk vibe that they're sort of describing and dealing with, like Greta Gerwig was a punk and a feminist, there's not a lot of intersectionality. Now, I understand the intersectionality came about in the 10, 15 years later, and I understand, and I did really like that at one point when Gerwig's character's feminism is becoming very prominent, Annette Bening's character, who is from a much earlier generation, like the parents of baby boomers sort of generation, Depression era generation, is sort of uncomfortable and sort of resisting this openness. And I liked that because I think we're still dealing with sort of older generations of enlightened women and or feminists who don't listen to younger generations. If you don't believe me, read that really awkward conversation at Sundance with Jessica Williams and Salma Hayek, and like shudder a little bit. So I get that it's set in 79 and there's limitations on what was the discussion then, but you're making the film in 2016, so you can present that time, because you're presenting that time to 2016. You can put a lens on it and make it intersectional. You can do that because it was always intersectional. And just because someone coined the phrase in the late 80s, early 90s does not mean that we haven't always been an intersectional society. And so that sort of irked me quite a bit. And I'm guessing, I feel feel like if the title was different, I would feel less uncomfortable about it being so myopic in its presentation of these women. But that's just me, I guess. I don't know. So the best thing about it for me was the soundtrack. I quite loved the soundtrack. It's great, and there's a scene where sort of Gerwig's character is describing like the kid's gotten in a fight and someone tags his car with graffiti, and on one side it says art fag and on one side it says black flag, and the Gerwig's sort of trying to explain that there's divisiveness within the punk world, and so then later Benning and Crudup listen to both Black Flag and the Talking Heads to sort of compare and contrast, and it's a nice moment because they try to get the one thing, they know it's not for them, they listen to the other thing, and they're like, this is my groove, and it shows that like if everyone could just accept that some things are other people's grooves and that some things are your groove, and that doesn't mean we have to hate each other or fight, that would be nice, and it was a good moment. I also would love to dance to Talking Heads with Billy Crudup. That'd be really fun. So there's like aspects of the film that I think are great and aspects that I think don't work. And I'm kind of bummed that this is the film that he got an Oscar nomination for when I thought Beginners was such a better, more nuanced screenplay. But oh well. So definitely check the film out. It's got a lot going for it. It's not. I think I might be damning it with faint praise because it's probably it's a film with its heart in the right place and it's well made. I just have issues with it. So this is Mike Mills's 20th Century Women, and it's playing in theaters all over the place. It's only, I think, now in one theater here in Atlanta, and it's down to like 2 showings. So if you should go see it sooner rather than later.